Hey everybody, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show how to set up Visual Studio to make it a little more tolerable. I know I'm kind of a front-end dev guy who started with Node and I'm used to Sublime, so Visual Studio and ASP.NET in general took a lot of getting used to, and it was kind of like initial panic because there's a lot of things that are just not set up in a way that's very developer friendly. So I'm going to go through kind of my workflow and some things that I had to hunt and find um, to get set up. So I'll go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to show you guys is how to go about changing the font size. So go through here under File. No. Okay, so there it is. All right, so we're going to go to that. Environment, general, color scheme, theme. So if this isn't set up the way you like, you can change this. I like it set to dark. Here, fonts and colors. Wow, that took forever. Okay, so you can adjust the size of the font. I think it starts as something ridiculous like 10 or 8 or something. You can bump this up if you want to. There's also an area in here. Let me see. General items to show. Okay, so that's environment. Text editor. General. Okay, so here you can go into here and you can set the tabs. So this is nice. Like it starts out at 4. I prefer 2. Just my personal preference, right? You might think 4 is great. But I work in like C, C sharp, and SASS. So I can set the tabs on those both to 2, and you can set whether it's spaces or tabs. So that's something that's not easy to see right off the bat. All right, I think there was one other thing. Let me do JSON as well. Tabs and set. Yeah, that's already set to 2. So some of these I may have already set. Yeah, so I want to be 2. Cool. So that's good for that. Yeah, okay. Let's see here. There's another area where you can set line numbers, which actually doesn't come on by default, which I think is completely crazy. Let's see where that is. It might be under text editor as well, I would think. Here, line numbers. Boom. Okay. So yeah, line numbers are not on by default. If you want to turn them on, you just go with that. And then there was something else. It's like a highlight feature or something like that that I really didn't like. Yeah, highlight current line. It was obscuring me from being able to read what was going on. So those are some quick settings you can change. And then you can go to Window and you can apply certain layouts. I like the solution window to be over here and also the SQL object explorer. So with this, you can look at data and stuff like that, which is super helpful. Um, for objects like this, sometimes they'll get into these weird view modes, which really drove me nuts. And I didn't understand what this was, but when you drag it into this window, you get these different panes, and you can actually drag right onto this left sidebar, and that's how you actually dock this window. That wasn't super evident either. So those are some basic setup things. Let's go ahead and start a new project, and we'll get into this next section. So I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to say for the web, I'm going to say ASP.NET. I'm going to make sure that this framework is at the latest. It looks like, oop, there's one newer. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. And then I'm going to set the web application name, and I'll just say, I'll just call it, let's see, I'll just call it music. No, I already have the music project. Let me see. Original name. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go with that. Now I'm going to say, okay, I want ASP.NET 5 and I want a web application. All these are uncheckable because they're all merged into one. Don't know why they chose to show these options when you can't select them. Another curious Microsoft choice there. Let's go ahead and say OK, and it's going to scaffold out the example project that we're going to go ahead and set up. All right, so here it is. It's showing you kind of a preview of some things you might need to know. I always shut that down. Solution Explorer. Again, I don't know why these things keep moving around. Properties, I don't care about that. All right, so then, yeah, it undocks itself again, and you got to do this. All right, so here's our project. Right off the bat, you'll notice a couple of interesting things. In the new version, if you're used to like MVC4, you've got a www root. That's where your Angular stuff will go, all your front end assets, static assets like CSS, images, JavaScript, and favicon. So this is what will get exported to the root. This is like the client side stuff goes in here. All the server side stuff basically goes here, except for your views, unless you're using Angular again, which will go in the www root. So you'll notice we have a Gulp file now, which is something that's kind of new. People were kind of hacking it in, but now it's actually baked in. Now there's also, of course, some weirdness with how this operates, because right off the bat, you'll notice that you've got something set up called task called min for minify, and it's minifying CSS and JavaScript. But if you jump into the www root and you go to CSS, you'll see that well, actually, this is set up different in this version. I just updated RC2, so maybe they corrected this. Let me see. All right, so here's another thing I didn't know. You can go to Gulp file, you right-click on it, and you go to Task Runner Explorer. I'm sure if you guys have been with the Microsoft stack for a while, probably makes perfect sense to you, but I didn't know about it. So I was building, and it was never rebuilding the JavaScript and the CSS. And then I was like, okay, so I found out about this after doing, of course, some Googling on third-party sites. And you've got these bindings set up for task running. So how it works is you can right-click on these and then hit bindings and set like before build, not just on, like pre-build or for production. So I can go, okay, I want to run the whole clean task before a build, and then I want to run the minify task group also before build. So that's going to clean, it's going to delete the old CSS file, and then it's going to create a new one. So if I just go ahead here and I delete this file, and then I go ahead and run, Go ahead and run the project. Okay, so our project is building. You'll see that here that Gulp ran its tasks, and this process terminated with code 0. It looks like an error. It's actually not. And if you go in here, you'll see, oh, yep, sure enough, it regenerated our site min.css, which is pretty simple here. So that is working. That's great. We got that working now. And that's how you'll control that. Just right click there, go to Task Runner Explorer, and you can set different tasks here. And then you can also see like this view here. It's kind of weird. So here you can see the output with this little min, and then our bindings you can make adjustments and see when things are actually binding and running. So that's that. That's how to set up Gulp. Now, I like to use SASS by default. So if we go into Gulp file here, you'll see there's no Gulp module, npm module for SASS by default. Now, of course, we want to add that. So how do we do that? Well, we jump in here, and okay, before I get into that, I'm going to show you one more thing. There's a lot of great solutions to problems you'll run into by looking at the package.json file. So I'm like, where's the package.json file? So I jump into File Explorer. I can see it, but I can't see it in here. So what you basically have to do is you have to right click and you have to go add existing item. For some reason they hide this by default. Maybe they think that, you know, as a developer you don't know what you're doing and you're going to break something. So I can go into here and I can go actually package, and then I look down here and still not here. What is going on? So I did see this, but it was hidden where they brought it in. Now I still don't see it. This is weird. Do this add. No. Add existing item package.json add. Nothing. That is really, really strange. Now I could suddenly see it over here. Package.json. It's outside of the scope for some reason. I don't know. That's very, very strange. But basically, if you paste something into here, you paste in a node module and a version, it will install it using, I think, npm, or it might be, what is the Microsoft one? NuGet. It might be through NuGet, or it might be through npm. I'm not sure. But for instance, I like always getting the most up-to-date modules, so I prefer just doing it through the command line. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my folder. What is the name of this example? So I'm going to go to source. I'm going to go to project, and then I'm going to say npm. Now, of course, you have to have npm installed. If you don't, just go to npm's website and download their exe. I'm on Windows. All these ASP examples will be on Windows. If I do any Node stuff, that'll be on a Mac. I think that's probably the targeted persona, people that want to know. So I'll go npm install -S so that it will save into our package JSON. And then I'm going to do gulp SASS and gulp CSS lint. Go ahead and run that command. I really like this new version of Node where it kind of shows you a progress indicator on top of just running lines and lines and lines of code. I think it's really nice. All right, awesome. So it is finished. We go ahead and look at this. Oh, cool, it brought it in. How nice. You can move this up into dev dependencies if you want, just bring it all together. It doesn't matter. We'll just leave it as is for right now. Let's close out of this and close out of this. I'm going to just go straight into my Gulp file that was just open to show you guys. All right, and what we want to do is we want to add here in our require, we want to add SASS as Gulp SASS and CSS lint as Gulp CSS lint, and make sure that's all right. Yep, colon, colon, semicolon. And we'll go ahead and save that. Now, what else do we need? Okay, so we've required it. Now, we need to set these paths. These are set up for CSS, any CSS files. So I'm just going to create another one. I'm not going to delete anything. I'm just going to modify this copy. And I'm going to set that for CSS/SASS. And then I'm going to do, of course, the SASS extension SCSS. So now we have this pass variable as well. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to change this to a SASS extension. We'll rename that. And then we're going to go ahead and change this. Get rid of this. Modify that. This is fine for the concatenation destination. And then right here, we're going to add something special. So, 1 second. Coming. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this SASS compressed and CSS lint. Go ahead and grab these. And we can go ahead and paste that in. And there we go, guys. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now this is still in the same min task, so these subtasks are still going to run. We don't have to configure anything like that. So let's go ahead and save that. Now, what else do we need to do? Well, in inside of our dev folder and in CSS, I'm going to create, this is the way I like to do it. It's kind of a convention I've seen a lot of different places. So go ahead and stop this. Another thing is you have to stop the debugger from running to make a lot of edits on stuff. That drove me crazy. I didn't understand it. Now I see what's going on. Yeah, so if it's running, you can't like rename files and stuff like that. So go ahead and set that folder. Then I'll go ahead and go into a project I have that has CSS already. Just go into this one. Oop, not that one. Set CSS. No. Let's try this instead. Okay, so I'm going to arrange by type. I'm going to grab these here. Drag these all into this folder. Okay, so we have all these SCSS files. Our path is set up to look for them, so we should be able to go ahead and save. And we can see the current length of this minified file, which is not very long, right? It starts with body padding 50. And if we go ahead and run, see this disappeared. Now it's building, processing it. Okay, it ran, completed successfully. We see the SASS task completed. And if we go ahead and click on this, we'll see this is way bigger. So everything did minify, compile, and concatenate. And so that's how to get SASS files working. They can be multiple. Now, I do have some things I want to add in later videos when I figure it out, which is adding the auto, what is it? Yeah, so in a new video, I'd like to show adding the auto prefixer plugin. For some reason, it does not like running inside of Visual Studio, and it errors out every single time. So once I figure out what the dealio is with that and fix it and get it patched up, then I'll show you guys how to do that as well. But at least you can get up and running with SASS, which is super helpful. You'll have line numbers, you'll have a decent font size, and you'll be able to navigate around fonts or around your solution and also add NPM plugins. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll go through how to scaffold out controllers and views from models, and also how to set your DB context and populate a database with custom tables that are defined in your class or in your your class, which is a model. Okay, so thanks guys, hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you later.